The Persian Gulf, the bay of endless wealth and power. The United States is putting pressure on the Gulf countries, using the China issue to test the loyalty of the Gulf countries. But this time, the proud princes did not continue to follow the routine. They refused to kneel to the United States anymore. In recent decades, with the rise of China, China's global influence is growing so fast. The Middle East is no exception. Today, China's influence has become so strong that the United States even feels threatened. China and the Gulf countries are constantly deepening and strengthening cooperation, and have made many achievements. In order to win over the Gulf countries, to help the United States in the competition for influence with China, the United States is using many inferior methods in order to save its hegemony in the Persian Gulf. United Arab Emirates. Under President Trump, the U.S. struck a deal with the UAE for arms sales including F-35 fighters. But last year, the United States abruptly suspended the arms sale. Sources told us that the Biden administration wants to use the sale of F-35 fighters as a bargaining chip to put pressure on the UAE. In order for the UAE to take some measures to keep a distance from China, they asked the UAE to abandon its engagement with China in the field of technology, such as removing the Chinese company Huawei from the UAE's telecommunications network. The United States always claims that it respects the right of each country to choose. But secretly, it is always using its hegemony to push all parties to voluntarily obey. Once someone refuses to obey, the United States will intimidate it, or even wave the big stick, to force them to be obedient. Now, the United States is doing everything possible to instigate or intimidate other countries to alienate China. But times have changed. Things have changed. And the Gulf countries have changed. They are tired of the endless demands of the United States, have also changed their attitude of obeying the orders of the United States, and directly slapped the United States in the face with practical actions, such as the UAE. After the United States threatened to stop selling F-35 fighters, to force the United Arab Emirates to stay away from China, the UAE simply canceled the order and turned to buying fighter jets from other countries. Saudi Arabia. After receiving endless moral accusations from President Biden, Saudi Arabia gave the visiting President Biden an unprecedented cold reception. Even when President Biden was trying to solve the serious economic problems in the United States, Saudi Arabia led OPEC+, which occupies an important position, to cut production significantly, dealing a heavy blow to the Biden administration. Faced with such an embarrassing situation, the White House even threatened to reconsider the relationship between the United States and Saudi Arabia. But Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was unmoved, and even proposed to join the China-led BRICS organization, which made the United States extremely embarrassing. At the just concluded Juhayr show, Saudi Arabia ordered $4 billion worth of military equipment from Chinese companies. The contract amount is equivalent to 5 times the $850 million in aid President Biden promised to give to 10 ASEAN countries in the next 10 years, contrary to the aggressiveness and arrogance of the United States. The enthusiasm and candor of China impressed the princes. The cooperative relationship between Saudi Arabia and China is getting closer and closer. In addition to political and military cooperation, there is also deep economic integration. China is the largest oil buyer of Saudi. 27% of Saudi oil exports are now shipped to China. And China is also conducting in-depth cooperation in Saudi Arabia's infrastructure projects. China even promised to help Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman build his world wonders future city by the Red Sea. Neom. Qatar. When all eyes are on Qatar World Cup, the Chinese and the Qataris signed a 27-year huge natural gas order, and the Chinese will purchase 4 million tons of liquefied natural gas from Qatar every year. Just a few months ago, the Qataris had just placed huge orders for new LNG carriers from Chinese, Korean, and Japanese companies. This is Qatar's return to China for helping them host the Qatar World Cup under the background of the international energy crisis. This huge order has strengthened China's future energy security. On the other hand, it has also strengthened Qatar's economic security, making it no longer afraid of the economic control of the United States. The innocent victims are Europeans. When Chinese bought the most scarce natural gas, they could only shiver in this cold winter. It is completely expected that the Gulf countries will make such changes. If the United States wants to use the China issue to test the loyalty of the Gulf countries, it is definitely a miscalculation. For a long time, the hegemonic actions of the United States in the Middle East and even the world have greatly dissatisfied the Gulf countries. The rise of China has given the Gulf countries a new choice. While the United States is using warships and tanks as the tool to manipulate the world, China is using construction and development as the tool to make friends. The United States exports war and poverty. China exports peace and prosperity. While the United States is greedily trying to pocket all the benefits, China is leading win cooperation and creating a better world with every partner. Which future world will they choose? Billionaires, dictators, princes, sheiks, the emirs, and the kings have already made their choices.